Wow, what a speech! What an incredible speech last night. State of the Union in our nation's capital. So much to react to this morning. I'll dive right into it, folks. Welcome to the program. Sam Mirejovsky here, behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. My email, sam@whatsrightshow.com. Would love to hear from you, your thoughts. So don't hesitate. Reach out to me. I'll be reading those emails throughout the day and perhaps respond to them a little tomorrow. And of course, follow me on X @whatsrightsam, both on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram, where I'm still abroad. I'm in the Czech Republic in Prague, and I'm posting occasionally some pictures of where I'm at. So if you're interested in that, check it out, pun intended. Okay, first off, here's how this is going to work. A majority of the country did not watch the speech. It's always the case. So when it comes to a State of the Union speech, it is the president's opportunity to fail. That's what it is. It's you can think of it as an on-off switch. You can think of it as a dimmer, okay, if you're a fan of the Book of Mormon musical. You can think about it anyway. But point is, a president goes into it, and two things are going to happen. He's either going to nail it, and people will, on the other side of the aisle, meaning basically the entire establishment media, will say, well, that was not bad. Or the president is going to fail, or fail to, some sort of scale, right? Whether it's fail a lot or fail a little bit, get nasty, get dark, do whatever, it can happen when you're up there and you've got the opposition in the room. And there it is. And that failure then is amplified across the networks, across front pages, and everything. So I'm looking at their reactions. Now, I understand that you're not going to win over the New York Times when you're Donaldus Maximus. Not going to happen. I got that. And that's quite all right. I'm not, that's fine. But as I was looking at the sort of the reactions on cable, even places like CNN and MSNBC, now it's called MS Now. I guess that's an awkward thing to say. MS Now, formerly known as MSNBC, there were begrudging compliments given the president. And that's all you need to know, because that, by the way, that's a little signal to people that are on the fence going, oh, okay, I guess Trump's not that bad. Now, normally and typically, the opposition is not a protagonist in the drama that is the State of the Union speech, right? You've got the speech, and it's the president is up there, and there are few examples, I think, where the other side becomes part of the show. Now, I would say, for example, a few years back in Donald Trump's first term, you will all remember Nancy Pelosi dramatically ripping up the speech after Trump was done speaking. It was a nasty moment, befitting the clown that is Ms. Pelosi. But it happened, okay? And she became the talk of the town. Then there was a Republican congressman one time that shouted at Obama, "You lie." Remember him? "You lie." And that guy was Joe Wilson. Robbie, remind me, who was that? The congressman, and it was a thing, right? And all of that. And by the way, the entire media after that rounded, just a ton of criticism on this one Republican congressman. I think he had to give some kind of an apology, and that was that. Okay, now, I think Ilhan Omar spent most of the hour and 50 odd minutes that Trump was speaking yelling at him. She was there. She was like, had Tourette's. The Democrats that showed up, and I'll get a little bit into the the counter programming, because they had all these different gatherings, right? That was the funniest thing. So they had the State of the Swamp that was held at the National Press Club. What a terrible, first of all, I mean, they had Robert De Niro. They feature the Portland Frog Brigade, a bunch of people in inflatable frog costumes. Well, about play on swamp. But again, they're what are they doing? First of all, they're acknowledging Trump's term that Trump coined about draining the swamp. Trump didn't coin it, but he's made it famous. It's part of his programming. You're almost playing right into that. And it looked pathetic. I watched it, the people that spoke there. Then there was the People's State of the Union speech on the National Mall, which is the long park that leads up to the Capitol. Hosted, Joy Reid was there saying all sorts of nasty stuff. So, I don't know. The whole thing was just an absolute mess. A mess. And sloppy. Meanwhile, Trump is there and he's slaying it. Now, well, okay, so you go back to Nancy Pelosi, which to me was the last time that the opposition was a protagonist. But the Democrats did manage to write themselves into the script, but not in a good way. And that moment, that particular moment came, what was it, about 30 minutes, 30 minutes or so into the speech, when Trump was talking about the importance of prioritizing American citizens over illegal non-citizens. Which really, if you think about it, is a non-brainer position for any elected official. I mean, hell's bells. You travel to any country in the world, you go to, I don't care, Japan or Ghana, or I would, well, not Canada, certainly. No, not there, not the UK. But you travel to any country that's not bewitched by Western wokeism. And you're going to find what? You're going to find a country, a government that on both sides of the aisle, regardless of political party, they can agree on the fact that they're there to support their own people, their own citizens. Well, here's what happened. Trump, and this was masterful. I want to think that maybe this was a flourish put in there, by, well, I don't know who put it in. Stephen Miller, maybe? Anyway, here is the moment.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Republicans cheering, Democrats sitting. They are sitting, they're not doing anything. This moment will live in infamy. This is going to haunt the Democrats like nobody's business. I'm telling you. And by the way, they asked, who was it, Bynum? Who was the congressman? They got Janelle Bynum from Oregon. No, she wasn't wearing a frog costume. No, that's some people in her district. Anyway, Bynum gets asked by C-SPAN what she thought of the moment. Listen, this is the question and the answer. It's astounding. I guess coded racism? Is that their take on this?
What did you think about that moment when the president was asking Democrats to stand up for American citizens during that part of the speech when he was talking about immigration and immigration enforcement efforts?
I think you can agree with the what, like standing up for American citizens, but I disagree with the how. And so it's always about how do we bring our country together, but not stand on the backs of others. There's thinly veiled racist language, anti-immigrant language in what he was asking, and that was uncomfortable.
Thinly veiled racist language. I'm reading it here. Make sure I get this right. Thinly veiled racist language, anti-immigrant language, and that was uncomfortable. Okay, let me just All right, I mean, here's the deal. If you agree, here's what Trump said. If you agree with the statement, then stand up and show your support. And here's the statement. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. He doesn't say immigrants. He doesn't say people of a different color. He doesn't say, I mean, I'm trying to put on some sort of neutral goggles to look at this at. Nothing's thinly veiled. They are reading in meaning. And of course, because they want to protect their feral pets, meaning the Democrats, because this is what they want to do, this is the issue. All right. They're always going to fight this. And that moment right there where not one of them stood is going to haunt them forever. Now, as I'm going through the, speech and I'm watching, and this is kind of, what I do here. I'll just show you, those of you watching the Sam Cam, making all these notes. I loved, Trump. I got to tell you, it was just, I mentioned that Ilhan Omar was popping off. She was popping off right from the beginning of the speech. And incidentally, she's sitting up there with Rashida Tlaib. Tlaib is to her, I think, Ilhan Omar's left. But so whenever the camera panned to Ilhan Omar, it would also pan to Tlaib. And she was sitting there with an F-ice, little pin on her. And every time, by the way, they chatted USA, USA, including, I think, when the hockey team was up there. Can you believe this? USA chants, Rashida Tlaib mouthing KKK. All right? That's the Democratic Party. You want that in the majority? You want that in the majority if you're an independent? I don't care. Maybe you don't like Trump. Maybe you think ICE enforcement went too far. Maybe you think that Bovino guy is dressing like an SS trooper. Whatever. You want that? You want somebody when there is a USA chant? You want her as a committee chairperson? These are deeply unserious and actually quite awful people. Anyway, so Ilhan Omar spouting off, and then Trump just sends her over the edge. And I wrote, this was a moment and I told you he was going to talk about the fraud. By the way, Robbie, you and I predicted this. We had the agenda. Those of you who listened to yesterday's program with my predictions of what would be covered, it was all there. I mean, it was the economy, it was immigration, and they got into the Somali fraud stuff. But true to Trump form, they didn't just get into it. He went right at it, bullet right between the eyes. Here's how he kicked it off, and this was great. He kicked it off. He called them the Somali pirates that ransacked Minnesota. Folks, I almost fell out of my chair. I laughed so hard. It was so good. And then, the the state representative for Somalia, a.k.a. Minnesota, there popped up and started losing her mind. And Rashida Tlaib was tusking, and I think there was that, Sarah Trainee McBride character in front there who was also looking a little distressed and rolling her eyes, or his eyes, whatever the hell that. I don't know what these people are. It's confusing. I'm confused. I'm getting as confused as they are. So here's the next line, and this is great. This is great. Affirming again that the Vice President of the United States is going to spearhead the investigation. And, he's a pretty sharp lawyer. I have a feeling that that this is going to not be good for the likes of Ilhan Omar.
But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
That's great. And you can, again, if you're watching the Sam Cam, if you've got the podcast and it's on Spotify, YouTube, wherever we have video, you see there is McBride, Talib, and Omar looking unhappy. All right, so this was great. And then I mentioned, this is what everything, I mean, it's so pivotal. The SAVE Act, voter ID. And this is I'm going to point this out. This is Trump being the best that he can he is, right? When he gives a compliment to someone on the other side. In this case, Zohran Mamdani. Now, when you begin speaking, if you're Trump, right, in particular, so if you're a Republican and you are a conservative and you're a Make America First, put a guy, America First, Make America Great Again person, you're the minute that you begin giving a compliment to the other side, they will lean in. It's how things work, right? Because it's the unexpected. And he got them to lean in. And then he smacked them. He smacked them hard. Listen to this.
And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason.
There it is.
They make up all excuses. Yes. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John.
Hang it around their necks like an albatross. This is such a winning issue. And he's got the country behind him, right? It's better than 80-20 just across the board, but it's 71-29 on the Democrat side. So even D's want this in overwhelming numbers, meaning voter ID. And if for the Democrats, this is an absolute uphill climb to get this done. It's not going to work. And so what Trump wants to do here is to connect the dots for people. He wants to connect the dots for people, linking the ridiculous position for why Democrats, elected Dems, don't want voter ID to the fact that they're cheating. And then explaining further, they have to cheat. Nobody would ever want these crazy positions. These are the same people, after all, that won't even stand in solidarity with the statement. Your primary mission is to protect American citizens. Well, I understand, folks. I get it. It's going to get roundly criticized, and every criticism of this, every time anybody in the media goes, and then Trump, talked about Democrats just want to cheat. every time they criticize it, it's actually going to drive the point home. And people that are independents, that aren't diehard Trump haters, that are on the fence, they're going to think about that. It's going to resonate. So this is another one of those moments that's going to live on for a while. Quick break. The What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam and Ash, will be back in just a moment.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Good to be with you as always. Now, a quick word about Sam and Ash Injury Law. You heard from Sean Duffy afterwards. In fact, I'm going to play the clip in a minute. There are a lot of unsafe people out on the road. Sean Duffy is our transportation secretary. He would know. He's cleaning up the Biden mess. People got driver's licenses. They were handed out like candy. The people that can't read English. They don't know what right turn is. They don't know what one way is. And those are the kind of problems that can have disastrous consequences for you and your loved ones. And if you get into an accident, and it happens, don't be one of those people that just says, I'm just gonna let my insurance company do what they do. I'm just gonna not pay attention to this, and I'll get what's right in the end. I'm just gonna turn everything over to them, cooperate with them, and then everything's gonna work out. That's really quite Pollyannish thinking, in my opinion. I know this because this is what I do. I'm the founder of Sam and Ash Injury Law. This is my firm. And what we do is help people just like you. Ordinary, good, honest people who get themselves hurt. Some idiot does something. Now you're injured and you need help. We don't charge any money up front. We handle every aspect of your case. We guide you through it. The most important thing is you turn all that over to us. We handle it. And then you're not stuck doing anything. You just can get better, focus on going to work, taking care of your family, and all the paperwork, all the hassle, all the arguing. Believe me, there's a lot. All the arguing gets turned over to Sam and Ash Injury Law. SamandAshInjuryLaw.com. That's the website. The phone number, easy to remember, 800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. Sam and Ash Law, because you deserve what's right. All right, folks. Here's the clip. I haven't played it yet, but it's such a great moment. Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, Jake Tapper, who looked so sour last night. Tapper was sour. What does that mean? Tapper just watched Trump give his best speech ever, in my opinion. Best speech ever. And Tapper was excited to trash Trump, and really all he could do, all he had was the moment where Trump called Democrats crazy. Why did Trump call Democrats crazy? Well, because when he called on them to show solidarity and support for representing the interests of U.S. citizens, of American citizens, over illegal immigrants, they all remain seated. So here, Tapper challenges Duffy on this. I think Tapper regrets even picking at this. This is how the moment went, and it did not go well for Jake.
He said, quote, "These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy." I mean, but that's not something we ever heard from Obama or Biden from that stage.
No, I mean, listen, we've never had a speaker rip up a speech either. But when you're saying issues like, we're talking about trucking, we have, and it comes in my space, where you have states that are issuing driver's licenses to illegals who haven't been trained to drive a 80,000-pound truck on an American road. We have a little girl that had a life impacted for the rest of her life, and she's 5 years old, and it was an illegal who hit her, I think the question becomes, why doesn't every Democrat stand up and go, no, we want well-qualified drivers on American roads. That's not partisan. We don't want illegals who can't speak the language, contrary to American law for decades, to not be on American roads. I think those are easy issues, Jake, and I don't think we saw Democrats stand up and support them. We got some applause for the U.S. Olympic hockey team, but that was probably one of the only bipartisan moments of the night, which I think is too bad. Again, if inflation's down, Democrats should applaud it. If real incomes are up, Democrats should applaud it. Those are good things that we should support as Americans. And just because Donald Trump's in office doesn't mean you have to sit on your hands. You should applaud that because that's good for America.
Tapper just looks pained, doesn't he, Robbie? Now, Robbie, be honest, right? We're kind of talking about this here as we're doing show prep, and the speech, obviously, to the extent that it is helpful for Republicans going into the midterms, hinges on how it connects with independent voters. I mean, that's kind of a fundamental thing. I would also add, though, it needs to fire up the base, because the base needs to get out there and vote like their lives depend on it. We all have to go to the polls because the Democrats are fired up for all the wrong reasons. So I think the base gets fired up, but a comment like this from Duffy, where he makes it so common sense, right? Don't we all just want good drivers out on the road? I mean, how is that racist? How is that bigoted? How is that thinly veiled, coded racism? Right, is what the Democrats are calling. I mean, how is that? So I think, right? I think an answer like this is so supremely common sense, and it's on CNN, right? I didn't play a clip here from Fox News or from OAN or from Real America's Voice. I mean, this is from the belly of the beast, so to speak. So I think this is good, and look, I mean, even like I mentioned, the commentary after the speech was overwhelmingly positive. Here was David Axelrod, who is a Obama guy, right? A strategist, and somebody who is, a common sense person in the Democratic Party, an adult in the Democratic Party, and now making the rounds as a commentator. He was on the CNN State of the Union panel. And so he was part of the commentary afterwards, and he said this.
Well, he also basically kept control of himself, which I think will be a great relief to his strategists and aides there. But the question, I think he did well from their perspective for the reasons that you say, John. And he used the gallery very skillfully to kind of simulate empathy, which is a thing that he's been lacking. And that's sort of a surrogate for that. The question is, he started off the speech by saying, this is the turnaround for the ages. Right. And as you know, because you're traveling around the country, people don't think the direction is right. And I don't think this cured that.
Well, people don't think the direction is right because they're listening to people like you, Dave, and idiots like every dingleberry that goes on CNN. The country, oh my gosh, this is the worst economy ever. And these were the people that were lying through their teeth in the 4 years of Joe Biden, kept telling us and insisting that inflation wasn't real, insisting that that there was nothing to see here, right? It's unemployment rates, where Biden, and it was all nakedly obvious, stacking the employment numbers with government hires. Nobody on CNN or MSN Now or in the New York Times, Washington Post, etc., would call out any of this. Quite to the contrary, they carried water for Biden because this is what they do. They are extensions of the regime propaganda machine. It's how they view themselves. And right now, they think of themselves sort of as an opposition in waiting. And this is how they're behaving, right? So Axelrod, again, and it almost, to me, I'll tell you, it's almost like Axelrod goes, Well, how dare he express optimism about this objectively improving economy when he travels around the country and people have been propagandized to think otherwise? But notice what Axelrod didn't say, and this is, people will pick up on this even if they don't necessarily realize it, and that is Axelrod didn't come out and say, well, that was a really dark and divisive speech. He actually said Trump simulated, used the gallery to simulate, I love that, simulate compassion, empathy. I said empathy, simulate empathy. Which, by the way, if you know Trump, he's actually a deeply empathetic person. These things actually do matter to him. He's often the first to call a friend in trouble. He calls Americans after tragic circumstances. The guy is, it's not the caricature that the Dems make him out to be. I'm not going to litigate this here. You know this, and if you don't know it, it's okay. But the point is that it came across that way. And the best that a hater could do, a best that, the Democratic member of the post-speech panel could say was that it simulated empathy, and he's got to do a better job at undoing all the hard work that we've put in to program the American people that really this economy is the world's worst. So there it is. Now, I want to point something out here. You've got Axelrod, who is a shrewd Democrat guy, saying two things. Well, three. Good speech. Okay, good speech. Number two, he's saying Trump simulated empathy, which acknowledges that he came across as empathetic. So actually two good things. And then he says, well, Trump really failed to deliver, persuasion on the economic front. All right. Now, my takeaway from this is, I have to put this, I have to just set this up for you a little bit. My takeaway is that when you hear that from one of the most advanced sort of Democrat strategists like Axelrod, it's an acknowledgement that the economy is the top issue. And this is where the counter-programming by the Democrats, because you've got the speech, right? Then you have Abigail Spanberger, the newly elected governor of Virginia, and she is giving the response, which was terrible. 12 minutes of just blah. And you've got the two different, we'll call them rallies or meetings in the Washington, D.C. area, in the Capitol, one at the mall and the other one at the press club. And what are they focusing on? These dumb Democrats are focusing on yesterday's news. And okay, I'll give you one example. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, the idiot that just lost his football team, right, to Indiana because he's such an incompetent boob, gets into ICE. Now, remember, the speech, if you've listened to it, or if you've gotten some digest of it, is an impassioned argument for why we need closed borders. And Trump lays out systematically the case. The response is, the Democrats' response is this.
We need to stand together to ensure that we put an end to the mass deportations. We must put an end and abolish ICE.
Abolish ICE? Really? Well, I got to see the polling on this. I don't think that's where the country's at. I think the people like the sausage and don't want to see how the sausage is made. And incidentally, side note, for the last little while, because Tom Homan came in and has organized things, I haven't seen too many, inflamed situations like we had in the first week. So it's moving in the right direction. But people want to. This is defund the police stuff. This is not where the mood of the country is. But again, go back to Axelrod. Go back to, it's the economy, stupid. It all hinges on the economy. And it's why the Democrats put so much effort into programming their viewers and their, mass media consumers into believing that the country is headed for doom. But this here, I mean, Pramila Jayapal, was a congresswoman. This is at the National Mall. Listen to this.
And yes, our trans kids across this country who are sick and tired of being bullied because it's not trans kids driving up your rent. It is the billionaires doing that. We are standing up for our trans kids across the country.
I want to tell you, trans kids is over. Nobody wants to hear this. A majority of Americans now understand that this is the biggest con. Not only is it the biggest con, it's the greatest shame of our country. People out there running around talking about ICE, Nazis, coded racism, etc. But these are the people that supported the large-scale mutilation of our nation's youth. The people that advanced the trans ideology and pediatric gender-affirming care, as it was euphemistically referred to, have literal blood on their hands. And we're over it. I don't know where Pramila Jayapal is in her thinking, but it's not with the current state of affairs. Major hospitals have shut down their pediatric gender transformation clinics. They're no longer just willy-nilly chopping off willies, okay? They're not doing it. It's over. And it's also, again, it's the economy is stupid, right? The Democrats are still a little lost. It gives me some hope, is the point. Now, the Axelrod Democrats, I call them the adult in the room in the Democratic Party. They get it. He's talking about the economy, and he's desperate to hide how good the Trump economy actually is in numbers, and he wants to psych people out. And the economy, folks, numbers, Axelrod is right about this, and it's what I'm concerned about it too, because the economy is absolutely emotional. Perception is reality when it comes to the economy. If people feel like the economy's good, they will spend a little bit more money. When they spend a little bit more money gets injected in the economy. When more money gets injected in the economy, things begin to move faster, and the snowball effect begins to occur. And one of the really perverse things about what the Democrats are doing is that they loathe Trump so badly. They want to win in the midterms that they're literally talking down ultimately America and a rising tide that would come for all people. They're talking down America in an effort to thwart the economic recovery that was badly needed, much needed, and is happening in real terms under President Trump. By the way, I wrote here in my notes, he's going to talk about eggs. We mentioned this yesterday, Robbie. I said, yeah, he's going to bring up the eggs. He sure did. He mentioned Trump RX. He gave the website. People start saving money on prescription meds. That's going to be a huge thing. I still want to mention one more thing, too, that there were only 4 justices. I think Elena Kagan, the only, liberal justice that attended. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, nowhere in sight. Ditto, Sotomayor was not anywhere to be seen. The scene with the hockey, I mean, look, I don't know, maybe I should have started here today, but I'm gonna end on this note because it was so powerful to me. He honored some great people, and it was the hockey team was phenomenal. I'll say this too. He gave a shout out to Susan Dell for the Trump accounts, saving accounts for kids to get an education. It was absolutely fantastic. He gave also a Presidential Medal of Freedom to the goalie, okay, of Connor, the goalie, the Olympic gold medal. And he said that there was a vote. It was so cute. So he announces the winners. He said, America is winning. This was Trump's, this is a moment. in the Capitol, in the House of Representatives chamber, and up in the gallery, because down below is where the senators and members of the cabinet, Supreme Court, and the Senate and House members sit down in the gallery. There were empty seats, of course, because some were missing. But up in the gallery, the visitors' gallery, and it's a pretty steep incline. There's little doors at the top of the gallery, and they open, and in comes the hockey team, and they're all dressed in USA colors. Beautiful, okay. And he jokes. He goes, we had a vote, and I said, I'm going to do this based on what you guys vote. So I guess when they met at the Oval Office, he asked them if he could honor the goalie with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And so on top of a gold medal, the Olympic goalie for Team USA also got a Presidential Medal of Freedom. And it was just an epic moment. Reminded me, of course, in February of 2020, when Trump gave Rush a Presidential Medal of Freedom 6 years ago. It was just as Rush's cancer diagnosis was publicly announced. So I think you remember that moment. It kind of reminded me of that. And but it was such a beautiful, an absolutely beautiful and patriotic, proud moment. And I don't know. I wonder if the girls team, who famously refused to come to the Capitol and visit with Trump, if they're kicking themselves, one of us could have had a Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's what you get for being hater hoes. All right, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. We'll be back tomorrow. More reactions to this. Please send me your emails or thoughts. Look forward to hearing from you.